Your application has 500 users. Why do you have 27 microservices? I'm not joking. I have seen more times than I can count. Team of 3 developers, early stage products, barely any traffic, running a full-fledged microservices architecture. Because that's what Netflix does, and they spend 80% of their time managing infrastructure instead of building features. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 real mistakes developers make with microservices. Not theoretical, actual things that break in the production and cost teams weeks to fix. And stay till the end because I'm going to share the exact roadmap you need to go from where you are right now to building backend systems that are actually production ready. Let's get into it. First mistake, you build microservices before you had the scaling problem. Netflix has microservices, Amazon has microservices, Uber has microservices. So obviously you should too, right? No. Here's what nobody tells you. Netflix didn't start with microservices architecture, they started with a monolith. They moved to microservices because they hit the real specific scaling problems that monolith genuinely could not solve. They earned their architecture. When you copy that architecture from day one, you are taking on all the complexity they've built up over the years, like distributed deployments, network latency, service discovery, distributed tracing, without any of the scale that justifies it. The consequence is that your small team now spends more time managing services than building the product. You slow down, your competitors with a clean monolith are shipping faster than you. The fix is simple, but nobody wants to hear it. Start with a well-structured monolith. Separate your code into clean modules, your order logic, your payment logic, your user logic, but keep it one deployable unit. When a specific module needs to scale independently, when you have a dedicated team for it, when the monolith is genuinely holding you back, that's when you extract it. Not before. Mistake number 2, you don't have microservices, you have distributed monolith. This one is brutal because you don't realize it's happening until it's too late. You have split your application into 10 services. Looks great on the architecture diagram. But every time you need to release a change, you are coordinating with deployments across all 10. There's a Slack thread, a release schedule, and a joint testing session before anything goes out. No team can ship independently, and here is why it happens. The order service team changes a field in their API response. They rename their order ID to just ID. Sounds small, but the payment service, notification service, and the analytics service all call that endpoint and depend on the exact field name. The order team can't deploy alone. They have to wait for every other team to update and test their site first. Then everyone ships together. That happens with every single release. You haven't built a microservices, you have built a monolith that communicates over HTTP instead of method calls. You have all the operational overhead of a distributed system with none of the autonomy. The fix is to treat service contracts like public APIs. Version them. Never make breaking changes without a migration path, and more importantly, if 2 services change together on every release, that's a signal that they shouldn't be 2 services at all. Merge them. Mistake number 3. One slow service is taking down your entire system. Picture this. User places an order. Your order service receives the request and immediately makes a synchronous HTTP call to the inventory service. Inventory calls warehouse service, warehouse calls shipping service. 4 services all waiting on each other in a chain. Now shipping service starts responding slowly. Maybe it's a database issue, maybe it's a spike in the traffic. It starts taking 5 seconds to respond. So now warehouse is waiting 5 seconds on every request. Inventory is waiting on warehouse, order service is waiting on inventory, and your threads are being held open, waiting. Thread pool fills up, new requests start queuing up, and now your order service, which was perfectly healthy, is returning timeouts to your users. Your entire system is down because of one slow service at the end of the chain. This is what synchronous chaining does. It ties the health of every service to the health of every other service that it calls. The fix is to use a synchronous communication for anything that crosses service boundaries. Order service publishes an event to Kafka called order placed and immediately returns a success response to the user. Inventory, warehouse, shipping all consume that event independently and do their work. No chain, no waiting. If shipping is slow, it just processes events a bit later. Your order service doesn't care and your user is not affected. Mistake number 4, your services are independent, your databases are not. This is the most common mistake I see from developers who are moving into microservices. You have 3 services: order service, inventory service, user service. They are separate Spring Boot applications, separate deployments, separate everything, but they all connect to the same PostgreSQL database. Same host, same schema, sometimes even the same tables. It feels practical. Why spin up 3 databases? The data is related anyways. But here is what happens. The inventory team needs to rename a column. They're on a migration. Order service has a query that references that column. At 2 a.m. on Tuesday, order service starts throwing SQL errors in the production. Nobody knew the migration was coming because there was no contract, no versioning, nothing. Just a shared schema that anyone can change the schema at any time. Your services are not independent. They are coupled at the deepest possible level, the data layer. The fix is one database per service strictly. This does not mean one database server. You can use separate schemas on the same server if cost is your concern. The point is that no other service can query your tables directly. If they need your data, they call your API or consume your events. You own your data completely. Mistake number 5, you keep splitting until everything broke. This is the other side of mistake number 1. Mistake 1 is splitting before you should. This is splitting too far once you start. You have a user service, makes sense, but then someone decides profile data should be separate and now you have a separate profile service. Then preferences get their own service too, then avatars, then notification settings. Now there was one clean service is now 5. Every single user related action in your system requires call to all of them. The user logs in, your API gateway calls auth service, which calls the user service, which calls the profile service, which calls the preferences service. 4 network hops just for one login. Each hop adds latency. Each hop is a new point of failure as well. When something goes wrong, you are tracing a single user action across 5 services in your logging tool, trying to figure out where it broke. The cost of a network call between services is not free. It is not a method call. It has latency, it can fail, it needs retry logic, timeout handling, and circuit breakers as well. Every service boundary you add has a real operational cost. Most teams don't feel that cost until they are deep in it. The right question when splitting a service is not can this be its own service. Everything can be its own service. The question is, does this needs to be its own service? Does it genuinely have independent scaling requirements? Does a separate team own it? Is there a real business boundary over here? If the answer is no, keep it together. So to pull this together, don't build microservices before you have a real scaling problem. Make sure your services can actually deploy independently. Use asynchronous communication across service boundaries. Give every service you own its own database. Also, when you do split along real business boundaries, not just because you can. These mistakes are not about being a bad developer. Most tutorials never even cover them because they are harder to demo than a basic REST endpoint. This is the exact gap between a developer who can build a microservice tutorial project and the one who can build a system that holds up in the production. Now, if you want to take everything we just covered and actually build it, I have a full free course on YouTube where you build a complete Java Spring Boot microservices e-commerce project with latest technologies from scratch. Real project, real architecture decisions, and real code. The link is in the description. It's completely free. And if you are thinking bigger than just the microservices, if you want to become the kind of backend developer who understands not just Spring Boot, distributed systems, but also AI integration and DevOps and even cloud infrastructure, I have put together a complete roadmap at embarkx.com/roadmap. It's designed specifically to take you from solid backend developer to production grade AI aware engineer who can build, deploy, and scale modern systems end to end. That link too is in the description. If this video helped you, save it. And these are the kind of things you want in front of you when you're making real architecture decisions. See you in the next one.